Hello everyone. We're going to be going through basically to the basics of C Sharp. I'm going to teach you guys a few examples I found on this site. It's called guru99.com, and we're going to be going over some of these, probably all of these, but not all in one video. It's going to teach you the basics of C Sharp so that you'll be able to start to implement your own solutions, maybe via REST API or desktop applications and such. But the video should be enough that it should be able to get you into the basics of programming and just understanding how this language works. We're gonna start with Visual Studio, and we're going to create a new console application. I'm gonna be running .NET Core. .NET Framework is fine, but at work we recently shifted into using .NET Core, so I'm going to be using that for this example. We're just gonna call it console app 1. Doesn't really matter for now. I'm going to delete it later anyway. So this is the current program that we have. It's easily to get distracted by all the buttons over here, but you shouldn't worry about them for now. So as you can see here, we have, I don't want you guys to get confused by this. You can see here, we have the name of our project, so it's console application. And this is actually a solution. So if you click on the solution, you can see that you can actually add even more projects to this, but we won't be going through that right now because I want to teach you the basics first. So as you can see, the name of our first project is console app 1. We have some options here like analyze and code cleanup. This will be actually really helpful in a work environment if everyone at work has the same code profile set up. It's really beneficial, because it does a lot of things. Like you guys probably won't understand this now, maybe some of you will, but a lot of these are actually examples of really good practices, and they clean up your whole project, every line of code you've written by themselves once you run it. So we're going to be going through that in another tutorial. Right now it's not important. So as you can see, you can build it, you can rebuild it, you can clean it. These are not really important for you right now. You can publish the solution. That means that you can set it up to run as a service in your task manager. So maybe if you want to build an app that maybe sends an email every 4 hours, you can do that here relatively easily. There's easier ways, but this is one of them. You can manage, I don't know how to pronounce this, but I call it nugget packages. You can browse them, and you can see we have JSON here, which we'll be going through in my other tutorials. We have auto mappers, we have MVC, we have jQuery. We have a lot of, these are like bundles that people make. I mean, some are made by companies like Microsoft, some are made by actual people. We're not going to install any of them right now, but they're here if you guys need any. You can rename the project, you can change the properties of the project, which is not really important right now. Another thing is, if you have like 2 projects and you want them to start in a particular order, you want to click on the solution and hit properties. And you'll see here that we currently have a single startup project. So when we hit this button, only this project will start up. If we have more projects, we can select this button, multiple startup projects, and all of our projects will be shown here. And you can set to action to start, and with these arrows you can actually move them to give them the preferred order that you want them to start in, but that's not really important right now, so we'll just skip that. So the first thing, you can press this green button on this Control F5, and it will start your program and it will display hello world. So at line 1 you see that we're using the system library. The system library has a lot of functions that you can use. As you can see, it has the console, and if you mouse over it, it says represents the standard input, output, and error streams for console applications. This class cannot be inherited. So this is a class. Console is a class. Oh, sorry. If you hold down Control and you click on the class, it's going to show you all the available public methods that you can actually use. So the most common one we use for console is WriteLine, because this actually displays this on our screen. It's very practical for error logging as well, but not in such a way, but we'll get to that at some other tutorial. So we can see we're actually calling the WriteLine function from the console, which is imported here. So the WriteLine functions, if you mouse over it, it says writes the specified string value followed by the current line terminator to the standard output stream. So what this means, it's basically a function, you know, like it's a procedure actually. There's two types of functions in basically any like high-level programming language. We have functions and we have procedures. So this is a procedure. This is because it returns void. So if a function returns void, I like to call it a procedure because it just does something, but it doesn't return anything. So a function would be like function whatever, and it returns y. So this is a normal function. So in C# it's like this, but because it returns integer. So if you specify it like this, void cannot have a return statement, so we can just do something here that's not returning. So yeah, this was maybe too confusing for the start, but we'll get into that. As you can see, the main is actually a procedure as well, because it returns nothing. So we don't have a return statement here. Like, yeah, now as you can see, returns void or return keyword must not be followed by an object expression. So if you could change this to int, this would actually work, but the main is not kind of the function you want to play around with. I mean, you can return it, but still, it's just better to leave this at void. So yeah, WriteLine is a procedure that accepts a string value. So in C#, this is how you specify a string. So we're gonna start by getting into types. So what is a string? A string is usually an array. It's not really an array, but sort of an array of characters. So we'll start by creating a character variable type. This is a variable. So let's say we're gonna create a character variable. So we're gonna create a character. My character variable. So in C#, how you declare variables is like this. First you specify the type, then you give it a name. I like to use camel case. So camel case is basically first letter starts with lowercase, then every word starts with uppercase. So after you have these two, you have a name and a type, you need to declare it a value. So the way you declare a character value in C# is by doing these small quotation marks, and you give it a value, for instance x. So yeah, don't worry about these green lines. These are just my lint programs because they're bugging me about that it's never that it's assigned but it's never used. So don't worry about that. So there are more variables we can use in C#. I won't go over all of them, but I'm going to go over the ones I use most at work and the ones I think that will be most beneficial. Like there's plenty, but I really don't use that much, and yeah. So another one is we have a string here. So a string is similar to a character, but only that it's actually built with more characters. So you can think of a string as just an extension or like something similar to characters, but like more of them. So for string, you have to put in double quotation marks. Maybe you can put in double quotation marks here too. No, you can't. You can just use single ones. So for a string variable, you can either have only one letter or many of them. So yeah. So a question might pop up by some of you guys saying, what is the point of having character variable if we have a string? And I would like to save that question for later because I would want to explain it in a for loop. So yeah. We can enter a string value here. You can just put anything you want inside here. So these are the two most common types I use at work. So now let's get to numbers. For numbers, my most preferred types are integer and double. I don't really use float and the other numeral variables because that's just my preference. You can do it as any way you want, but the first one is int, and that's short for integer. So we declare the variable type. Oh, the purple keyword is the variable type. Sorry if I didn't mention that. The next word is going to be the name of the integer. So let's name it my int variable. So now we can assign it a value. So the way you assign numbers in C# is just by typing it in and give it these things. I forgot how to call them in English. So you'll notice that you can't put a dot here because you can only do that in a double variable. So now you'll see what that means. So we're going to create a double, my double variable, and you're going to notice that with double you can also just put in a 5, for instance. But what you can do is you can type a dot and you can put any value here. So this is like a decimal. Another type I most often use at work is the boolean type. So bool is short for boolean. My bool variable. So what's boolean? Bool is basically just, it can only contain two values, and that's true or false. So you can either set it to true or you can set it to false. These are very useful for real life scenarios because you can, with if clauses, you can test a lot of conditions with them. So there are some more data types here, but I think we went over them all, so I don't think we really have to show you guys any other of them. Like if you are a beginner programmer and basically trying to learn C# or just generally programming, these variables will these variable types will take you a long way. Like seriously, these variables are like, you don't even need any other variable types as a beginner, like, because these variable types can do anything for you. Like double might not be as precise as maybe a float if you're trying to use that, and some may not be string or int, but these are enough to get you guys going. And later on, when you want to learn more, you can explore more different variable types. We have, for instance, byte as well, but I don't really use it, so I don't think it's necessary for me to show you guys what it does and what it is, because this all is enough for you right now. So now we're gonna be moving into enumerables. So what's an enumerable? Generally you put an enumerable outside of your main program. So as you can see here, enum type, it's declared almost the same way as a variable. I mean it is actually, but so we have the type, and we have the name, and then we have the values. So you can see we have days in here, and the values are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, etc, etc, etc. So now what we can do is, let's go back to our console write line. So if you want to add a value here after the hello world, you just add a plus. I'll show you guys what the plus does. So let's copy this string. Or actually, let's not copy it because I want it to stay here. So what you can do with a string is you can actually paste it together. It's like an addition. So addition in maths is adding two numbers together, so you get a result. And in C#, you can add another string here, and it will basically do this. It will be here, added string. So you know how in maths you go 2 plus 2 is 4? That's same in C#. If you have two int variables, let's say we have int number 1, and the number is, let's say 1, and you have a number 2, int number 2, and let's say the number is 1. So we have two ints with the number 1. So let's say I want to make an addition between these two variables. So I'll make, so if we addition int and int, the result will be obviously an int. So we have to make a new variable with the type of int, and we give it a name. I like to call it result equals, because you always have to assign some value to it. You can go like 1 plus 1, and now we can display this result in our console. So now I want to display the result instead of these two strings. So look at what I'll do. I'll delete this, and I'll put in the result. and you can see that it's 2. So yeah, 1 plus 1 is 2, big woof. But what you can do is, because these variables already have the value 1 assigned, you can go like number 1 plus number 2. So now the result will be the same. It's still going to be 2. So let's so as you can see, we actually printed the result here. So now let's say we want to print the myString variable. We can copy it and we can paste it here, and it's going to show us anything you want because we declared it here. So we can actually hit the plus again, and we can type in result, and we can add a space between them so they're not together, and another plus, and you'll have anything you want to. So these are the basics of variables. You can also print my bool variable just to see what it returns. It's gonna return true. Okay, so now we can also try printing the enumerable value. So let's do that. So we do that by calling it, so by its name, so it's days, and you hit the dot, and you select a date. So let's say Sunday, and if we hit that, it's gonna print out Sunday. So these enumerables are actually really useful in my real life scenario, because we have enumerables going like this. So we have several operations in programming. So we have an enumerable called operations at work, you know. So at operations we have like delete, update, select, add, which is post is basically add. We have patch, we have put. We have plenty of operations with databases, for instance, and with REST APIs. So it's really easy for us to use these enumerables by calling other functions, and you'll see what I mean later by this. So yeah, this is everything I wanted to show you guys regarding variables for now. I'll be deleting all of this in the next chapter, so make sure you save it or you open Visual Studio version 2019 and follow me with it. So yeah, see you guys at the next chapter. So we're back and we're deleting all of these, and we're going to start moving towards arrays and lists. So as a beginner programmer, you don't really have to know a lot of the types of arrays. Like when I was in college, they were teaching us about linked lists, double linked lists, whatever, like so many lists. There were so many lists, and there were so many arrays. And there were also dictionaries. Like dictionaries are okay, but I don't want you guys to start going into them if you're a beginner, because they're just going to confuse you, honestly. So after I finished college, I started working, and I've been working for almost 4 years now. I'm 24. by the way. Uh, so, and at 4 years at work, there hasn't been a single time where I would be forced to use either a linked list, a double linked list. I might have used dictionaries here and there, but only in specific cases. And basically, the most I've been using was normal arrays and lists. And I'm basically doing web programming, so I'm a web developer. I make web applications. I'm full stack. I do front end, I do back end, I do database servers, and yeah, basically just the full thing, you know. And I think the most consistent way and the most generally good way is to use lists and arrays when you should use them. And because you're a beginner, this is okay for you now. So we're going to start with arrays in C#. So what's an array? An array is basically we have several types of arrays. Do you remember the variables that I had stored here? You can actually make an array with all of these. So I'll show you guys how. So let's say we want to create a character array. So we'll start here with the character array. Arrays. So we put this after the character to signify it that it's an array. So we give it a name, character array. And now we can either set it to an empty array. Sorry. We can leave it like this, or we can set a value to it. So for setting a value, you go like this. You open up an array. This is what I call opening up the array, because it has equals, and you put in the array sign, and you start typing. So arrays go from, oh actually I'll put in the values for that, and then I'll explain how it works. So with an array, you put in a character, for instance A, and then this is your array. What did I mess up? I forgot how to make an array in the C#. I'm sorry, that was my phone. But let's open up the arrays page. I really forgot how to declare it in C#. Oh yeah, oh it's this sign. I've been working with JavaScript a lot lately, and yeah, basically there it's just like this, and yeah, I've worked too much in JavaScript, so I apologize. But it's more user friendly this way in my opinion. So yeah, I like this way more. So this is in JavaScript, so never mind. So the way you open up an array is like this. So this is now an empty array. It doesn't contain any values. So to fill up the array, you have to start adding values. So because this is a character array, you won't be able to add a string. It will let you know, hey, cannot implicitly convert type string to character. So you can't give it a string because it wants a character. So you have to be mindful of that. So you add a character, and let's call it A. So now you have a character array. You only have one thing in it, but you have a character array. So let's say we add another letter to it, and let's call it B. Okay, so now we have an array of 2 characters. So let me actually show you how this works. So if we call the array right here, you can call it like this by its name, and you can press dot, and C# will actually show you the functions or procedures you can do on the array. So my favorite one, where is it? Yeah, so my favorite, it's not really a function, it just returns how many items you have in the array. So let's actually write that out. So if we go like character array and we type dot length and open that up, you see that we have 2 items in the array. So yeah, that's fine. So now I want you guys to I want to draw you a picture of the array that they showed us in school. So I always imagine an array like this. So this is the array, and we have here these lines. Yeah, we have these lines. Whatever, these don't really matter right now. So in our current array we have A and B. We're going to also add C, D, E, F, and G. So this array right now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. So the array length is 7. Let's actually mirror that here. Oops. And we can put it out, and it's gonna be 7. So so now let's say you want to show the user the letter D. This is what you want to show him, right? So how would you go on by doing that? So we have to console write line it somehow, but what do we console write line? So an array is actually built with indexes. These were very complicated for me when I was learning them. I mean, they weren't complicated, but they always confused me because they start with 0. So the first item of the array is always gonna be the index 0. The next one is gonna be index 1. You can think of indexes as of the places where the letter is stored. The third one is gonna be 2. The fourth one is gonna be 3. The fifth one is gonna be 4. The sixth one is gonna be 5. And the seventh one is gonna be 6. So you can see we have 6 indexes in this array because they start with 0. Yeah. So if we want to show the letter D to the user, which index should we use? We should use the index 3 because it represents the value in it, which is the letter D. So let's do that. So how you call an index is basically you just call the character array and you put in the character signs and you call 3. Save and open, and as you can see it's going to show us the letter D. So I'm not going to go into loops yet, but we'll get into them soon. with loops, you'll be actually able to write out all the values stored in here. And you will be even able to test it. So this is a character array. We can have more arrays. We can have like a string array. And it's the same thing, just first string. I'm gonna actually give them names because John, Andy, I don't know, Mike, Jason, whatever. So this is an array of strings. It basically holds similar values as character, but it's a string. So yeah. Also, I haven't showed you in the first chapter, but you can actually paste a character to a string. But you have to use the function toString. Oh my god, I used the wrong variable. My character variable. So you can paste a my character variable. You can paste a character to a string. You can also paste a string to a number, and you should play around with this before you continue down here, really. There is a lot of functions on these types, like for instance, double has. You can even parse, for instance, my double variable. You can move it to a string, you can compare it, you can format it. You can also call double function, and you can use dot parse, and you can put a string in here, my string variable, and it will become a number if it can be. So we'll get into that right away. I just want to finish arrays first. So yeah, we have the string array, we have the int array of numbers, we have the bool array, true, false, and etc. etc. So yeah, this is basically how arrays work. I'm not going to get into lists right now because I want to save them for another or a different chapter or a different tutorial because they're a bit more complicated but really useful. So yeah, we'll get to lists in another time. So now I want to get into how to reading users input. So basically you have a user, say, and you ask him, hello, please insert your name here. So you want to, so the user is gonna type something in, and you're gonna want to read it and save it. So we have to declare another string variable here. Also remember, anything that the user writes in the console, it's gonna be a string. String users response equals. So now to read what the user wrote, we have to go like console.readLine, and that's it. So if we want to show the user what he typed, we can go like this. We can go like console write line, and we can go like hello, and we can show him his name. So user's response is gonna be his name plus this. My name is Skynet, for instance. So if we run that, it's gonna ask us, hello, please insert your name here. So we type in our name. My name is René, so I'm gonna type that. And it says, hello René, my name is Skynet. So let's go a step further. So we're currently making a small application, and let's say you want the user to add a number to it. So let's go like this: console.writeLine. Please insert your credit card number. So we do the same thing, but now instead of string, we're gonna be making a double or an int. I prefer an int. You can use a double. User's response. So we make user's response credit card equals. So we go like this. We go like console dot readline, and as you can see, this is not gonna work because console readline returns a string, and we have an integer here, so we have to parse it. So parsing is basically, you can call like int32 dot parse, and you put in these marks, and now you can write to the user his credit card number. Hello, your credit card number is, and you put in the variable here, user's response credit card. Something like this. Hello, please insert your name here, Rene. Hello, Rene, my name is Skynet. Please insert your credit card number. So we go like 555-888, and we'll hit enter, and it will tell us, hello, your credit card number is 555-888. So this is really useful if you want to have interactions with the user. So now I want to move to clauses, like if clauses, because they're actually shown here, conditional statements. So conditional statements. So what's a condition? We're actually gonna delete all this now. I hope you guys saved it. So what's a condition? So we're gonna actually be making a program that's going to be like Lotto. You all guys know Lotto. Like you circle some random numbers, and if your number is the correct number, you win like $1 million, like whatever, you know. So first off, let's declare our winning number. For say, int winning number equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our winning number. If you win this, if the user correctly guesses this number, he wins $1 million. Like just for an example. So let's start. First, you have to ask the user to insert a random number. Insert a random number. So we declare another variable, int user's number equals int32.parse, and we do the console.readline. So now we can write out, I'm sorry, because of my phone. Now we can write out the user's number, which is gonna be the number the user entered. So it's telling us to insert a random number, so we do that by going just random, and the program ends. Oh yeah, whatever, I messed up. What did I type in? Oh, it was too big, whatever. Uh, so let's say you want to check a condition. So how are we gonna know if the user's number is the same as our winning number? The easiest way to check that is by using an if clause. There are basically two types of conditional statements we use at work. First one is if statement, which is like 90% used at our work. And the other 10% is the switch clause. I don't really want to teach you guys the switch clause because I think it's messy and it's for really specific scenarios. So I'm just going to be teaching you guys the if clause because it's the most clean one, it's the most fluent one, it's the most natural one, in my opinion. So how the if clause works is you type if, and now you have to specify the condition. So if the user's number is equal, you have to put in two of these because remember one is for declaration. So if user's number is equal to winning number, we can do console. Oh yeah, you have to add the brackets here, sorry. Console dot write line, you won $1 million. You don't have to actually use the brackets, but it's more it's easier to read if you use them. Okay, so if the user's number is the same as our winning number, it's going to write out you won $1 million. And if not, you can type in else, and you can go like console.writeLine, you didn't win anything. So if these numbers are the same, it's going to type out you won $1 million. And if they're not the same, it's going to type out you didn't win anything. And you can actually stack these ifs. So you can go like if user's number is smaller, these are the conditional operators. So there's like if the user's number is smaller than 1 or smaller than 2 or bigger than 1 or bigger than 2 or bigger and equal to 2. So this means if the number is 2 or above it. There is also equal or smaller to 2. There's also equal to, like we have here. And we also have this. I don't really use this. This means if it's different than 2. So, oh yeah, it's like this here, sorry. So this means if the number is anything but 2. So we're gonna go like if user's number is smaller than 1, we're going to write out console.writeLine, your number is too small. So let's start this. So insert a random number. So let's start by inserting something really random. It's gonna type you didn't win anything. If we insert a number that's smaller than 1, so let's say 0, it's gonna say your number is too small. But if we type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's gonna type you won $1 million. Oh yeah. I actually messed this up. I'm gonna show you guys why. Here it says you didn't win anything. So with the else, so the else is actually it's kinda connected to the last if statement you placed. It's not really, but since semantically it is. So right now I want to move the else here and the if here. Always remember that your code actually happens line by line. So it starts here, then it starts here, then it starts here, and starts here, and so on and so on. So first off, we check if the user's number is smaller than 1. And if it is, then this happens. Then we check if the user's number is same as the winning number, and we say, okay, it is, you won. And if not, then we go to this else, and we display you didn't win anything. So that's how it's supposed to be. So now we type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now it says you won $1 million without the you didn't win anything part. So now we covered data types, we've covered enumerables, we've covered variables operators, which is plus, 0, minus, times, by. We're going to be using these variable operators in for loops as well, so there's no need to worry if we didn't right now go through like all the operations. So for instance, if you have two ints, equals 2, you can go like int 2 minus int 1. You can also go like plus, and you can go like times by, and you can go like divided by, and so forth and so forth. There's all the math operations in here as well, and we're going to be visiting them, but later. So we went through conditional statements. In my opinion, we went through the most important one, which is the if clause. It's going to be really beneficial for us in our next tutorials. Then we went through arrays, and before we go through classes and objects, I want to touch loops. I don't know if there's loops here, but we definitely have to go over those because we use those all the time in every form of programming. Basically, you're gonna need loops. So yeah, we end it over here, and in the next part we're gonna be touching these. Not all of these, but I'm gonna make some exceptions and add some more chapters. So yeah, see you guys in the next video. If you like the content, please make sure to subscribe, as it helps me a lot. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to respond to them in the comment section. Make sure to like the video, share it to help it reach more people. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.